Right. And when you talk about buyers on the sideline, it's almost like the guys on the sideline that can't wait for the coach to call them in, you know? So like, rates moving 10 bips, it's like, all right, put me in the game. We're going.
Hello and welcome. My name is Matt Roberts. I'm the CAR Federal and Local Government Affairs Director.
And I'm Mike Falks, CAR public policy economist.
And welcome to Let Me Ask You This, brought to you by the California Association of REALTORS, where Mike and I talk about economic issues, the California real estate market, and public policy that can impact California's housing market today. Today, Mike, we want to talk about CAR's 2026 housing market forecast. It was just released a week ago. And as a member of CAR's research and economics team, let's jump right into this. What are the top lines of the housing market forecast for next year?
Yeah, I would start with sales. For 2026, we are forecasting that sales of single family homes will hit about 275,000. If that holds true, that will be the fourth year that home sales in California have been under 300,000. Now that sounds a
Okay.
little gloomy, but
Yes, it does.
there's a little nugget of gold in there, which is that, you know, since 2023, sales have been ticking slowly back up. And this modest improvement is not enough to get us past that 300,000 marker, but we do see sales trending up slightly.
Okay, so sales are ticking up a little bit, but relatively flat. What are
Yeah.
prices forecasted to do next year?
So our forecasted California home median price for next year is $905,000.
Okay.
I believe
And so where are home prices right now?
right now they're just a hair under 900,000. So it seems to be heading in that direction. But if you kind of do the math on that again, we're forecasting an increase in the median home price, but not a dramatic one. Nothing like we saw from 21 to 22 or even 20 to 21. Just this continued kind of hovering around that $900,000 mark. We've seen it go under a few times this year. We've seen it pop back up.
Okay, so you know, the big view of California's housing market going into 2026, the forecast is basically saying that sales and prices are going to stay relatively flat, tick up maybe just a little bit, but not projecting a 10-20% jump in either of those, correct?
Right.
Okay. So obviously it's a forecast, a projection. You take a lot of different factors into consideration. Looking ahead, what are some of those factors that could impact the forecast that maybe, you know, okay, we made the forecast assuming or expecting, A, B, and C to stay constant or do this, what would a listener watch that could just blow the forecast up and go, wow, okay, that's going to have a huge impact on housing?
Yeah, I think we don't even have to, we can just look back to the last few weeks when we had that bad jobs report.
Mhm.
And as a consequence, mortgage rates tumbled quite a bit in quite a short time. And mortgage applications, refis, sales, they all ticked up. And that shows me that the sensitivity to changes in mortgage rates are going to be a big indicator here. If rates do drop or continue to drop further than we forecast or go higher than we forecast, in either case, that's really going to affect sales and price because it is on these very fine margins right now where even mild changes in interest rates can have big effects.
Okay, so sounds like there's a lot of pent up demand. However, prices are still very high. And so if prices aren't moving, any change in interest rate that can reduce those monthly prices are going to bring buyers off the sideline, correct?
Right. And when you talk about buyers on the sideline, it's almost like the guys on the sideline that can't wait for the coach to call them in, you know? So like, rates moving 10 bips, it's like, all right, put me in the game. We're going.
Coach Lance, put me in there.
Right.
So yeah, I would say that there is still that demand there, and the changes in the rates and the consequences of that show it.
Okay. So let me ask you this. When you see what happened in 2025 in the housing market here, and you're forecasting 2026, are there any big changes that you're anticipating that maybe don't show up in the price or in the sales numbers?
Well, we always should be keeping our eye on inflation because that's what the Fed is looking at when it considers cutting rates and freeing up the economy. And we should also be looking closely at the labor market. Those are also two big variables that could swing things. A deteriorating labor market, while it might bring rates down a little bit, if people aren't working or not making as much, that's not going to be great.
So, all right. So let me ask you, if you had is there a silver lining in the forecast that you would point to and go, okay, you know what? I'm really optimistic on this part of California's real estate market looking at 2026.
Yeah, I would say that, despite the the cost pressures that, like you alluded to earlier, the demand for home ownership exists and is very strong. And right now, for a lot of people, the conditions to do it aren't quite favorable, but any moves towards making them more favorable, I think, can really be a shot in the arm to this market because there are people that this is really want to get in.
Okay. No, I think you're right. And we really see that with any change in the interest rates, as you point out, a lot of people coming off the sidelines.
Yeah.
So if you had one or two takeaways from the 2026 forecast, what would they be?
Well, one is just a curiosity about how long this sub 300,000 sales will continue
Mhm.
and what kind of economic changes there would need to be or structural changes to be to kind of loosen that up a little bit. Because the other thing didn't talk about here is, but Californians are staying in their homes for longer than they ever have. It's not that, they're not just selling because of the traditional reasons. They're not selling for a host of reasons now that are often interconnecting and keeping them in their homes longer.
Yeah. No, agreed. All right. So thank you. So
Yeah,
you heard it here, 2026 forecast for California's housing market, relatively flat, but inching up slowly but
yeah.
surely.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
If you made it through this full episode, thank you. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. Deanne, good luck editing this, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.